It is time once again for the weekly and this time monthly closes on our favorite Bitcoin miners. But before we get going, gently tap that like button, subscribe if you've been with us a while and haven't done so yet. Check out the Trade Cave store, link in the description as well as the channel bio. Let's get into these closes. Now we're going to do this a bit rapid fire. We're going to try to keep this under 20 minutes if we can. I know it's hard, especially since I'm doing both the weeklies and the monthlies, but we're going to get moving here on Bitcoin first of all. So Bitcoin, I actually need to turn my drawings back on. Oh, there's so many drawings. Anyways, before we were talking about this being a bear flag right here, these three right here, those three candles. And that sort of seems to have played out in that way. We got a pretty good rejection at that level there on the weekly. Let me get back to my main tool there. Now, if we look at the EMAs and the fibs, so the 200 week is all the way down at $38,000. I don't necessarily see us getting down there, but we are hanging out at the 21. And you know what? I should probably turn on the 50. Let me turn on the 50. That one should be number 3. Yeah, that should be number 3. Okay, let's turn on the 50. All right, we came into the 50 and we bounced off the 50. That's a good sign. We could come back to the 50 one more time, which is at 55,357. I don't necessarily see that, though. We see that the 21 is holding us up here on the weekly. That's pretty good. Where are we at in terms of ATR bands? Now let's go ahead and turn off the vast majority of these and bring out our ATR bands. There they are. Okay, so we're hanging out just below the mid one. We still need to conquer that. We need to conquer that mid ATR band. We've been hanging out in the upper half of the lower part of the mid band of the ATR bands there, and we need to get above that to open up room up to 76,000 to the top of the ATR band. That's pretty exciting there for that. Anyways, let's take a look at the monthly. How is the monthly holding up? On the monthly, we are getting a pretty wicked bull flag coming out of this thing. Look at these wicks on bottom here. Just tons of wicks on bottom the last 3 months in a row. I like that. I actually really like that. This is very much a bull flag type of setup that we're looking at on this bad boy right now. Here you can see that we are starting to creep our way out of this descending channel here. This bull flag, this monthly bull flag, this thing is huge and wild when it takes off. So we've been just kind of going in this downward path for months here. It's not too different from what we were seeing back here in 2023 before we launched up. We're seeing a very similar sort of pattern there, but the thing I really like about that is all these long wicks at the very bottom of this formation here. That is pretty fantastic. I like seeing that. All we need to do really is close up above like that 66,000, and we're in the upper part of this, and we're going to run for the highs. All right, so Bitcoin is actually looking pretty well set up for a run, assuming we don't get something catastrophic occurring in the markets. Okay, let's move on to CleanSpark. CleanSpark, the weekly. I actually don't like that week. I don't dislike that that weekly close. I don't dislike it. So we are getting this momentum indicators coming up. These ones are curling up towards a falling orange band, but we can drag up the orange band if the others move with enough force. We are coming off of this bear flag right here, which was formed off of this bear flag right here. Okay. In order to get out of this whole mess we're in for CleanSpark, price needs to get up and above 1262. That's really where we need to get above these two bear flags and negate them and start moving away from them and putting them in our review mirror. So we really got to get above that 1262. Until we're above 1262, CleanSpark is not looking like it's amazing at this time. So we're below all the important EMAs and SMAs right now. We need to get above these things. Yeah, 1249. Look at that, right where the 21 is. We got to get above the 21 EMA in order for CleanSpark to get out of this kind of like death spiral that it's been in for a little while now. Let's go look at the monthly. How did the monthly close? So this is October now that this little one is. So this one was September. September we ended up closing. Let me get that out of the way. We ended up closing minus 12% after a minus 33% August. What a brutal couple of months. Now, is the end of October going to give us some life here? Now, what we want to see is we want to see price struggling to stay down here, and it doesn't really look like it's struggling so much yet. Now there are wicks on the bottom, yes, but they're not super long. The bodies aren't very compelling in terms of an upward move. This thing does seem at the moment to be somewhat content with where it is. Now if you believe in CleanSpark, as I do, and of course none of this is financial advice or a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever, if you believe in CleanSpark, as I do believe that it will go back up to like the 15 to 18 to 20 range. Definitely it might go higher than that. That this is potentially a good area for accumulation. I have been accumulating down here. I've nearly doubled my shares from what they were in August down here. I am a little bit negative. I think I'm like 5-6% negative on my CleanSpark shares right now, but it's pretty close to getting back in the green there for me. I am actually green on all of my other positions, so I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, let's go back to the weekly, bring up Bitdigital. The weekly for Bitdigital hit the 200-week moving average and rejected, and we're getting squeezed between the 21 and the 200. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That is not necessarily a bad thing, because when this thing breaks out from these two, from between the 200 and the 21, ooh, man, that is going to be an explosive move. We've seen this before with it on the daily chart, not so much on the weekly chart, where it's got compressed between the two. Have we seen that on Bitdigital before? No, we have not, because it's not been around long enough. Basically, getting compressed between on the weekly between the 200 and the 21 is going to look a little bit like this. When it comes out, it's going to look a little bit like this one, like that move, that explosive move. Where this was happening on the daily, not on the weekly, but we had this tight compression from August 2023 until November 2023, just tight compression, and then it absolutely exploded upward and went from $2 all the way up to $5.28. This time we're starting at $3.37 if we get that same type of compression for the next couple of weeks, and then when it breaks out, it's going to be quite explosive when it does so, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it take out this 528 high and go even higher than that on this thing on the weekly. Now let's take a look at the monthly for Bitdigital. Let's see what that looks like. The monthly is actually not bad at all. So this kind of looks the opposite of what CleanSpark kind of looks like on the monthly. Remember how it had those long wicks on top? Well, Bitdigital's got these long wicks on bottom that it's been struggling to get under $3 here for months now. So that's actually a really good positive sign for Bitdigital. So basically, once we get above this level here, it's like 386, this 386 to $4 level. Once we're above that, I would not be super surprised to see it come up to, so we have something of a big megaphone playing out here. So let me get rid of this one, because this one's not needed anymore. What's going on here? Oh, hit a button. Okay, so that one's not needed anymore. So you can see we're respecting this upward trend line here, right? And we've got something of a megaphone playing out on a much larger scale. I keep having to move this thing. It's so annoying. Let me just make that a little bit smaller. That might help me out. All right. So this yellow dotted line going up and this one going down. That's the megaphone that we were kind of creating on the monthly chart, or weekly, honestly. And now we're kind of following this trend line up. If we break up above that 4, we have room to hit this megaphone up here, which would be in November 1st, it would be $6. December 2nd, it would be $6.17 up there. So we could see this thing do a rocket up to that level. I'm actually quite excited about that specifically. Okay, let's move on to Bitfarms. How's Bitfarms looking? Bitfarms looking a little weaker than Bitdigital. Let me turn off some drawings. There's too many to look at. A little bit weaker than Bitdigital. So this thing is forming something of a pennant here, and I don't necessarily like it. Like right there and right there. That sort of move right there. Those can break either way. Those can break either way. Now, I don't really know why it's making a formation like that right now. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Yes, remove drawing. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Yes, remove drawing. I have too many drawings. I want them gone. Okay. So, yeah, because it's getting trapped beneath the 200, beneath the 21. I don't like the weekly chart on Bitfarms. Now, it's a little bit confusing because Bitfarms has actually been doing really well today. Lately they've been expanding. They've gotten some of the darker clouds on their horizon out of the way. They've cleared a lot of that up. Yet their chart doesn't look great. Hopefully there's some good news comes through and Bitfarms gets that move up that we are expecting from it. But right now it's beneath all the important EMAs, and I don't like that necessarily. I would like to see this thing get up and trade back up around $3 and higher for Bitfarms. Now let's take a look at the weekly, or I'm sorry, the monthly. Let's take a look at the monthly. How's the monthly looking? Okay, interesting. So kind of back-to-back tweezers here. We had these two kind of going here on the upside that pushed it down, and then in August and September they pushed the lower limits of that and dragged it back up. We are currently below the 21 EMA for the monthly, which is at $2.04. We really need to get above that. Now we are respecting kind of this trend line right here. We are respecting that to a certain extent, and I will expect us to potentially bounce off of that one more time, which means we might come back to touch like 189, which could be a good accumulation zone for Bit farms, especially with how much they're growing. I would not be surprised to see it get up and exceed this $10 high from the past. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing hit 15, maybe even 16 bucks in the future. Now, I don't see us going over 10 by Christmas, but potentially 4, 5. That's on the table for Christmas potentially, as long as we get that run up. And how's Mara doing on the weekly? Mara also has too many drawings, so we got out of this ascending channel here, which isn't good. Now, we do have a nice long wick on the bottom here for last week. That's good, but we are still trapped below the 200-week moving average at 1631. We need to conquer that. We need to conquer the 21-day moving average at 1779. This right here, this formation is setting up for a move back up to at least like $22, $23. That's what that move is setting up there. It's preparing for that like burst up in like a day or two up to like 22, 23 bucks before it deflates right back down to like 18. So that's what Mara's doing. At some point, I'm going to pick up some calls on this thing, and I'll probably want to do it pretty soon, because what I'm seeing right here looks a little familiar to like back here, where we were compressing, and then in 1 week we exploded up from $12 all the way up to 14, and then the next week we were up at 15, the week after we were at 16, and the week after we were at 22. That's kind of how I'm seeing Q4 potentially playing out on this thing. Now let's take a look at the monthly. How's the monthly looking on this thing? Not great, not bad. Again, it's getting real whipsawed around, like wicks all over the place. We're getting like really tiny dojis here right now, showing that price is really kind of comfortable just being where it is at the moment. We're in a bit of a waiting game on Mara, waiting to see it at least get back up to like this like $18 level, get into this ascending channel, and then I'd be looking at Mara to go higher from there. All right, Riot. How's Riot doing? Terribly. Actually, no, this isn't good. I don't like this. So this looks like a bear flag right here. Again, this looks a bit like a bear flag still. It failed to get above that bear flag this week. It failed to even get above the body of that the top end of that bear flag last week. That's not good. That's not a good sign. I would not be surprised to see next week be red on Riot. Riot has just been suffering. Now they've kind of been getting it together, but they really need to get it together and show the market that they are a force to be reckoned with. The market seems to not be impressed with Riot of late, and it shows in the price action. That like they're just really floundering down here at the $6 level. Let's take a look here. Yeah, the 200 weeks all the way up at 1232, the 21 days all the way up at 884. Like it's got to get up above 884 and above 1227 before Riot's really cooking here. And that's this entire inverted head and shoulders that it's trying to make right now. It ends at 1227. So like once we get to 1227, that's going to be another struggle, another battle for Riot. The only good thing I see about this is that these momentum, the momentum here on the weekly chart for the oscillators, the 3 of them are pointing up while the orange one is still trying to point down, but it soon should curl over and start coming back up again. That's when I think I'll be getting pretty bullish on Riot, when this orange one down here on this momentum oscillator starts to curl up. Down, just been a downward, not even any other kind of formation, just this channel right here for months, and it's been fairly aggressive. It needs to get out of this thing. Riot's not looking so good. We had so we had a double top on the monthly for Riot. Let me close this out so we can see it's a little bit better. We came in, made a top, came out, made another top, and then we closed beneath that neckline, and ever since then we've just been moving down. And this thing actually doesn't come to a rest until we get down to about 475. So that's a little bit ominous. I don't care for that specifically. Anyways, that's Riot. Let's take a look at Iren. How's Iren? Iren also making on the weekly something of a bear flag. But we did make a higher high on this bear flag. So we got a little bit of a bear flag, right? This looks very much like this one right here, where we just came back to the bottom, like almost the bottom of it, and drove a little bit higher. Now, I wouldn't be too upset about that, because if we were to get that on Iren, that would be a bit of an inverted head shoulders. We have a shoulder, and then a head, and then another shoulder right there, and then that could drive us higher, back up to that $12, $13, $14 range that we're all hoping for Iren. I do like that this is a hammer, right? I don't mind that that's a hammer, because it's coming at the bottom of this big move here, and we're still kind of hanging out near the lows, and we got a hammer, we got an inverted hammer, and then a hammer. I don't hate that. Not bad. But I wouldn't be surprised to see at least a little bit of weakness next week on Iren, maybe even coming back down to this trend line here, this white one, coming back down to this next week, coming back maybe 750, 760, and then from there forming like kind of an awkward right shoulder, and then driving up from there for Iren on the weekly. I don't hate that candle, but I don't love it. It's not like super, super bullish, but it's not bearish either. It's kind of in the middle. Let's take a look at their monthly candle. Same sort of thing going on with the monthly. So we got some, honestly, we got some tweezers down here from the month before. We got another wick on bottom here forming in October. So we had tweezers. If October can push up and above $10, we're looking really, really good for Iren. So that's what I'm looking for, that 10. I want to see it get up and above $10 for Iren, and then we could see it revisiting these highs up here soon after that, which were also tweezers back here in June and July, and then August and September made tweezers on the opposite end. It's kind of just whips on around, collecting liquidity for that move up, eventually, hopefully, back up to like that $20, $30 level. How amazing would that be? I would have quite a lot of money if it did that. I'm getting real close to having 1,000 shares of Iren, which for some of you probably isn't a ton of shares, but for me it's kind of a lot of shares. All right, moving on to Corz. Corz is looking good. It just looks good. It's got a bit of a doji here at the top. It's hanging out at the top. It's consolidating up here. Now, my only fear with consolidating on something near the highs is that could end up being a distribution zone. We have been noticing that Corz has been lagging behind some of its peers lately, but that is after a huge run up, so I'm not super, super surprised. One thing I will say, though, is I am seeing something of a potential rising wedge right here. Okay. Oh, oops. Potential rising wedge right there. Those tend to break to the downside. If this were to break to the downside, though, I don't think it'd go any lower than like 830, 840 for Corz. So pay attention to that. Corz is making something of a rising wedge, which tend to break to the downside. And if it were to break to the downside, it would potentially get stuck at 1087, 965, and then maybe find rest at 830, 850 for Corz. So this is the first time I'm actually seeing some weakness on this chart in a while. So pay attention to that. That could be there. Now, it's not going to be catastrophic or anything, but it might do a little bit of a reset. And let's see, how much percent would that be from where it currently is? A 32% reset on a minor, that's nothing. That's really easy to deal with. That's pretty common. Yeah. And then on the monthly, you can really see it. Yeah, that is a rising wedge on Corz. So watch out for that on Corz. Be a little cautious. Pay attention. Watch those levels. See what happens at those levels. All right. Wulf. Wulf is, okay. Wulf is kind of doing what I'm expecting from Iren, but a little faster, right? It came up, so bear flag, right? Bear flag, and then bear flag, and a little bit of a drop. That's kind of what I'm expecting to see out of Iren. It is making a very similar kind of pattern that I'm expecting from Iren, and I am fully expecting this to do this, come down, and then from where it currently is, I want to see it bounce up, and then come back towards the highs around $657. Wulf is looking pretty strong still, actually. And this one is not a rising wedge because it's got a flat top, while lows are getting higher while highs are staying about the same, at least where the bodies are. Now, we did get a wick up to make a higher high, so that's pretty good on the weekly. This is actually still looking fairly bullish for Wulf. I don't dislike this at all. Let's take a look at the monthly. The monthly, yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. We had this big wick on bottom that bottomed out. Right, we got a doji, then we got another doji, so price is trying to decide which direction it wants to go. And that direction, honestly, if Bitcoin goes up, that direction is up. So watch that for TeraWulf. We get above $5 on TeraWulf, and we are cooking here. This is very much looking like some type of bull flag here that we're getting. It is a bit flat, so it could go either way, but we break out of $5. Wulf is going to be trading at $8, $9, maybe even $10 very, very quickly. Once that happens. So Wulf, actually, I like this. It does look bullish to me, with a low end potentially at 330 again. We could tap 330 in the first couple weeks of October, but once those are through and we get above $5, once we say goodbye to $5, I think Wulf is going to take off and double very, very, very quickly for that. All right, Cifr weekly. Yeah, big engulfing last week, the week before last. This week we stayed in the upper half of that, and we're holding towards the top of that body. That's a good sign. This means, so the way that this is structured right now, this means that if we get above 420, so we get above 420 on this thing and we hold above it, Cifr's going to go back up to the top of the range. Top of that range being about $6. Okay, so we could see a $2 move out of this thing if it can get above 420 and hold. Let's take a look at the EMAs and stuff. Yeah, it's above all the important EMAs right now. That's all good signs. So we stay above that. We got the 200 right here at 468. Yeah. I really don't see any trouble with this thing getting back to $6 if we can get above 420 on the weekly. Let's take a look at the monthly. How's the monthly panning out here? Let me get rid of that dot. It's bothering me. Okay. Monthly, also good. Also good. Now, the only issue with this is that if this could potentially be a bear flag, these two. That could be a monthly bear flag. But if it is a monthly bear flag, honestly, our lowest low out of this will probably be back down around 270, 260. I would not necessarily think that it would go much lower than that. It hasn't gone lower than that in a very long time. I don't see it doing it now. Yeah, I really don't see it doing that now. But it could be a bear flag. It could, like right back here, it could be a bear flag, much like this right here was a bear flag, right? Could be something like that forming right now. But I don't really see it going as low as that. I see it maybe coming to 260, 270 again before buyers recommit. And I only see this bear flag playing out if Bitcoin fails to drive up to $70,000 this month. That's the only way I see this playing out as a bear flag. Okay, that's it for Cifr. Let's take a look at Slnh. So Slnh is a lotto play. Do not put much money into this. Of course, none of this is financial advice or a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. I have 100 shares of Slnh. Actually, a little more than 100 shares of Slnh. Okay, why do I have that? Just because it's a lotto ticket. I know I've complained about this one. It's a lotto ticket. I only put money in it that I was absolutely okay with 100% losing, and that is it. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm absolutely 100% okay with losing absolutely everything I put into Slnh because it is a lotto ticket. Okay, this one's a lotto going into Q4. If Q4 doesn't pan out, if this thing doesn't at least come up to $8 by November, I'll be pretty disappointed in it, and that's it. That's just how that would be. Okay, so we're currently trading at 356. I do like this. So down here, this is an accumulation pattern that we're in on Slnh on the weekly. That is accumulation right there. Somebody's accumulating this thing. Somebody's going to break this thing out, much like back here. So you see this little area right here? Exactly like that. From April 2024 to June 2024, that was the accumulation. And then pop. How much did that thing pop afterwards, after that accumulation period? Let's take a look. Let's get our ruler out. We popped from the bottom to the top. It went 300%. If we did 300% right now, I think I'm going to have to go a little higher right there. If we did 300% from our current level, we would be looking at $14. We'd be looking at $14 if we did 300% right now. So that's actually pretty cool. And Slnh in the past has gone as high as it's gone as high as $300, right? $400. Do I think it's going to go that high again? I don't know. But I tell you, I'll probably be selling out sometime when it hits this bear flag right here, around $100. If I'm still holding any at that point, if I can manage to not sell it at $20, $30 after picking it up for $3. Slnh is a very, very small company. It's got about 4 million shares. The company as a whole is worth about $17 to $20 million, meaning a single hedge fund could pop this thing up to $20, $30, $50 in a couple of days with very little of their capital. That's why it's a lotto ticket for me. Now, does that mean it's going to happen? No. This thing could go to zero. It could absolutely go to zero. So that's why I'm not like betting the farm on it, and I'm putting a very, very small amount of money into it that I'm willing to lose. But I do see it potentially getting, up to the 20 to 1 day moving average, maybe on the week, on the monthly, maybe not by Christmas. By Christmas, we might see a 300-400% pop, maybe more. Once these hedge funds decide that they want to play with these little tiny stocks, you can see we've been just accumulating for months. We are operating off of a monthly bull flag here, though. Look at this right here, Slnh, monthly bull flag right there. Those 3 in a row, followed by a green. This month could engulf. If October engulfs these 3 candles, if October engulfs these 3 candles and goes back up to $6, that is crazy bullish, and I would not be surprised to see this end up being an inverted head and shoulders, and that inverted head and shoulders taking us to $19. I'll draw that out for you right now. We got the shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. If we get an engulfing up to 6 in October, I would not be surprised to see this inverted head and shoulders play out to maybe even $18 on Slnh. Now, again, this is a lotto ticket. This is a gamble. Slnh is not a fundamental play. Slnh is I think a hedge fund at some point is going to bring some money into this because they think it's fun to toy with these smaller stocks. So don't expect great things from Slnh. It could absolutely go bankrupt tomorrow. But if a hedge fund swoops in sometime in November or December and decides, I could throw $100 million at that and just 5x the market cap in a day or two, you'll see this thing fly, and it's going to fly. It's going to just be an absolute face ripper and fly up to $15, $20. No problems at all for this thing in that respect. And so that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Check out the Trade Cave store, link in the description, as well as the channel bio, and have a profitable day.